Hello, Seaside Shadows, and welcome to Witchy Wednesday. We are here with a very exciting Witchy Wednesday segment for you on this beautiful April evening. We're here to discuss one of the upcoming fire festivals that's coming on May 1st, the history of Beltane with you today, and that celebration is, of course, Beltane, or some may know it as Freya's Day. Now, we're going to tell you all about the history of Beltane, why it's so important, and we're going to go through some activities with you today. Now, for this Witchy Wednesday, you have two hostesses. You have me, Courtney, and our very special guest, Sunshine. And so you got two witches for Witchy Wednesday. And of course, with Beltane being such an enormous day, in the turning of the seasonal wheel, you have to have a get-together, you have to have a feast, you have to have a celebration, and you have to have your friends. So that makes it fitting for us to be here together with you today. Now, as far as Beltane, you may not know it by that name when you first hear about it. You may have heard of May Day, and you may have heard of things like Ring Around the Rosie or tying ribbons around an oak tree. And you may be familiar with all of the things that come in May, especially wedding season, and people start dating more in the spring, and all of these things that are associated with love and that May Day time of year, the flowers, all of that growth and new life. And Beltane is, of course, a holiday that is centered around love and fertility and sexuality and all sorts of fun things. Now, this dates to Norse and Celtic traditions both, and it dates to, of course, worshiping of gods and goddesses. Now, I gravitate to both Celtic and Norse mythologies and deities, but I'm particularly happy that there's a lot of roots in Norse mythology for Beltane, specifically because they relate to Freya, who we have here so beautifully displayed, the goddess who wears her cloak with the falcon feathers and has a chariot pulled by cats, and she is the goddess of everything, including love and relationships, all the way to war and death. So she celebrates the brightness and empathy and the feelings between us as people and wanting to make sure that our human relationships are tended to. But she also understands the darkness and the hardships and what we can do as people and are capable of. And she has a part in all of this. I love that the birds are chirping as their symbol of life, and Freya making herself known. Now, in addition to Freya being all of these wonderful symbols, she is, of course, related to Odin. Now, depending on what part of Norse mythology you subscribe to, depends on how she is related, a wife, a daughter, or a distant relative. But regardless, Odin is really considered the All-Father in Norse mythology. But there is a period in time in which he is hanged from a tree for 7 days. Now, when he is released from this ash tree and all of his life force has sort of been given into it in a sense, this becomes what we know as the Tree of Life, and they would have called it Yggdrasil. Now, we know that the Norse have a huge part to play in Celtic history because of all of those Vikings coming over to Ireland and Scotland hundreds of years ago. And the Celts had their own gods and goddesses, and they had a similar turning of the wheel, because as Beltane works, it is the halfway point between spring equinox and summer solstice. And how the pagan celebrations, be they Norse or Celtic work, is talking about the changing of the seasons. So when those Vikings are coming over, they are still celebrating amongst the Celts a similar time of year. And this is the time of birth, the beginning of summer, fertility, and the beginning of those marriages and relationships, and the celebration of their sexuality is all coming into play at the beginning of May. And so they're going to do this with a variety of acts and symbols that are all centered around a fire, a bonfire. So when Beltane comes, you need to make sure you have no candles, that you only have a bonfire that is going to be a part of your ritual. Now, depending on what part of the ritual you subscribe to, depends on how you are going to celebrate, but the Celts liked to jump over their bonfire, and it used to kind of have to be a trick that a man would have to do in order to earn his lady's affection. If he could jump over the bonfire, then they could be married, or perhaps the couple might jump over the bonfire together. You see, what's a little bit different than the Norse course, is that the Celts believed it was a holiday centered around men and women. And they have the green man and the green woman that they call the god and goddess. And they believe that the god and goddess are there to celebrate Mother Nature and bring her new life. So they would be adorned in all sorts of leaves and things like this to make sure that they're giving back to Mother Nature and getting all that they can from her earth for fertility. But this is a great time for manifestation. This is a time when the earth is fertile for you and what you need and what you want. Do you want to grow your family? Do you want to find love? Do you want a new home? Do you have a new business endeavor you're trying to start? This is the time of year where you're going to focus on that. And Mother Nature is going to be your friend. The green man and the green woman, the god and goddess, are going to be your friends. Freya is going to be your friend. And your ancestors who are coming over on Beltane are going to be your friends as well, because Beltane, much like Samhain on the other end of the wheel, is when the living and the dead can come together. It's equal in its importance to Halloween. It's your Halloween at the beginning of the summer. So think of it that way, my spooky friends. Yeah. Now, one of the things that we want to do as far as celebrating with you today is focusing on that time to manifest what is to come, the roots you want to put into the earth. I'm not even wearing shoes for this segment. I am at one with the earth, doing the full nature part of it.
Almost.
Now, Sunshine did suggest that she might perform a dance ritual for you this evening. Maybe. Full paint, maybe clothes optional, but we decided, that should be saved for the ultimate feast day itself, so we're going to do the prep work
and also,
today.
What would the neighbors think?
What would the neighbors think? What would they think? So instead, we've decided to adorn ourselves in another way to help worship Mother Nature. And we've got our lovely floral crowns, which goes back to Druid traditions. And they would, of course, form a circle as well around the fire, wearing their floral crowns, making sure they are at one with the earth. And I do want to give a quick shout out to It's So Ranunculus in Marlborough, Connecticut, for these beautiful floral arrangements here.
And it's so important, too, to notice that in this crown, I don't know if you asked for it in particular, but the roses and the poppies are the things that we're going to be using today in our first activity. We're going to do two activities. One that's focused on manifestation with the gods and goddesses, and the next we're going to bring you in to the fairies and the fae and how they come into play on this beautiful day. You must keep them happy.
Yes, but first we're going to make sure you manifest, and then we'll get to taking care of the fairies, if you will. Now, you may remember, if you tuned in last year, that we did something like this, but it's important that you do this every year so that you can continue to make sure that everything that you're growing is growing just as you need it to. And we are going to be doing Beltane wish boxes today. Now, your wish box is something that you can use, a little kind of planter like we have here that you can put outside on your deck or in your sunroom or wherever the case may be in your garden. You can actually also just use a cardboard box, especially a shoebox is perfect, and you're going to be able to plant that directly in the earth and watch it grow from the earth, which is incredibly helpful since one of the seeds is in fact sunflower seeds. So unless you're doing a short sunflower, you might want to do the cardboard box in the earth. But the first thing that you're going to do for your wish box is make a wish. And you're going to be able to do more than one. You can make as many wish boxes as you want. There's no rules on Beltane as to how much you can manifest. But we're each going to make one today. So we're each going to take a moment to make a wish.
Oh, the pressure.
You don't have to tell your wish. It's like your birthday. It can be like a secret. Write down your wishes. Start to think of what they could be. So we have our wishes written down. And now we need to take a moment with our wishes and visualize them coming to life.
I have way too many wishes. I can't wish for more wishes, can I?
That would be another box.
Whole yard full of sunflowers. So now we meditate for a second?
We meditate and then we envision our wish. Okay. So that Freya and all our ancestors can see the wish. All right. So now that we've manifested, the next thing we need to do is get a little bit of earth into our pots right here. So Sunshine and I are going to put on our garden gloves. As much as we love the earth, it's definitely hard to get dirt under your fingernails.
Especially we're going to be baking, so.
Yes.
It wants to be clean.
Yes, our next part of this. So we're gonna get a little bit of earth in here to start. We're using potting soil because we are doing this in pots, but you can use garden soil or you can use dirt from your yard if you're feeling so inclined. So you have a little bit of the earth right there in your planter. And now after you do that, ooh, I almost dropped my own wish.
Oh no.
I know. You're gonna put in your paper wish. That's the first thing that you're going to do. Then the next thing you need to do is put in something that symbolizes your wish. So we have here a variety of things and symbols, and we're gonna talk to you about what those are. So if you are looking for the truth, and your wish is that there's honesty and integrity coming back into your life, you're going to put a little sprig of rosemary as one of your symbols for wishes. Now, if you are wishing that you find something that's been lost, person or thing, you're going to put a feather in your wish box.
Does it matter what kind of feather?
It doesn't.
Any kind.
Any kind. You could find one. If you are looking for love or marriage or the next step, you're going to put ginger in there. Gingerbread, ginger snap cookies I have, whatever the case may be. Now, if you are looking for money, you're going to put a silver coin in there, which we have some at the bottom. If you are looking for happiness and good luck, you're going to put a cinnamon stick in there. Now, this is kind of a weird thing, but if you're looking for help accomplishing a difficult task, you're going to put a glove.
That's right.
Yes, you're going to put a glove.
I forgot about that.
Now,
that's great.
If you are looking for health, if you've been feeling ill or someone in your family has and you want some goodness and health to come to them, you want to put some blue and green ribbon into your wish box. Now, if you are looking for knowledge on something, you're going to put an apple in there. If you are looking, let's see, for protection, you can put a little key in there. We have some little key charms here. What else am I forgetting?
So Courtney, this is great for people that like.
And if you're looking for a new house, you can put a thimble.
A thimble. Oh, neat.
A thimble.
So this is really great for people who live in apartments or in a city environment too, because you can actually perform this ritual like this in a little pot. You don't have to have a big yard. You can set it out on your balcony.
You can do this anywhere you wish.
So this is a good. This is great for apartments and city living too.
Yes.
City witches.
So I'm gonna say that I have a couple things in here that are applicable to my wish. So I'm gonna put a few little symbols in mine.
Okay.
A few little tokens all in one.
So the looking for a house is the thimble. I'm not
Yes.
looking for a house right now.
Mm-hmm.
The glove is hard work, right?
Glove is, yes, difficult task.
Difficult task. I think this one. Silver coin.
Yeah,
yes,
a little
please.
Abundance. Yes.
How about some sweet love.
Yes.
And then was the rosemary protection?
The rosemary is seeking the truth.
I don't want to know the truth. Just keep lying.
You don't want to know the
lying
truth.
to me. Lies, lies, baby. What about the cinnamon?
The cinnamon is for good luck and happiness. So I think that goes with all of them.
You want to break it in half?
You don't have to.
Okay.
But you can.
Let's break it in half. Let's share it.
I already have cinnamon.
Oh, you do?
I just went full
on.
stick there.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next thing we want to do is put a little bit of bark from an oak tree in here. And a little bit of oak leaf in there as well. The reason we want to do this is, of course, the oak tree, similar to the ash, is associated with magic in Norse and Celtic cultures. So you want to have a little bit of oak tree and oak leaf that is in there with you. And then you also want to start by putting in your seeds. There's two types of seeds that you're going to use for your plant boxes. Poppy seeds. So we'll put a few of those in there.
Thank you.
They're so small, but I feel like probably less is more with them, right?
Probably.
And then a few sunflower seeds. So I'm gonna put one big boy in each.
Yes.
Why not? And then I've got some smaller sunflower seeds. We'll do a little bit of that, a little bit of that. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do now that we have all of that in there is cover with some more dirt. And then there's a reason we have these beautiful red roses here. Red roses are helped to manifest, and they are a symbol of love. and they are a symbol of goodness that's to come. And so to honor those traditions of Beltane and your wishes, you want to make sure that you love your wishes enough to put some red roses on there. So you're going to make sure that after you put a little bit more earth into your pot, then you're going to put some rose petals on it as well.
Put in the love, right, baby?
Yes.
Put in the love.
Makes everything better, even your wishes.
Very nice.
All right. So we're going to put a few rose petals in there.
Cute.
You would think we're done after that, but we're not quite done.
Not quite. There's always more to do in magic.
Ooh, a rose petal just fell in mine, so that was
That's lucky.
Yes.
A blessing.
So
right?
some more rose petals, and then we also have to put a few more seeds.
A few more seeds, some poppies to make them sleep. Joking. Wizard of Oz. Very nice.
I need more poppies, I think.
You need way more poppies. And this one's protection too. The key was protection.
Yes,
right?
the key is protection.
Interesting.
So then you're going to cover it with more dirt and more flower petals.
You're baking a cake for the earth.
For your wish.
Yes. And it's important to follow the directions for this, or else it might not come out the way you like.
Yes.
You'll have a lopsided cake, or only half a wish.
Only half a wish. That's right.
We don't want that. We don't want any half wishes, only full wishes.
All right.
Very pretty too.
So we're gonna pack our earth firmly on here. Maybe put one more flower petal for good measure.
Thank you.
All right. And then you want to make sure that you've kind of asserted with the gods and goddesses that your wish is in here and this is what you want. So when you plant, whether it's putting your pot out and making sure that you are manifesting it as soon as you want the wish to start growing, or whether it's as soon as you put it into the earth, which is recommended shortly after it rains, what you want to say is the following: dream that lies within the earth, awaken now. Hope that sleeps, awaken now. The dream stars await, and so do I. Grow true, grow strong, toward the sky. And as you say that, manifest your wish coming to light, and the symbol of its roots taking place and coming to the sun is your wish coming to light. So with that, we hope that you enjoy learning how to make Beltane wish boxes.
So
we
cool.
will be back shortly to talk with you about the fairies, but we want to give you some parting images of the bonfire, which is in essence what the holiday was about. And if you guys are wondering when they last celebrated Beltane with fires, it's still going on in Scotland today with the Beltane Fire Festival every year on May 1st, and Freya's night is April 30th, the night before. They have some pretty wild celebrations, but it was up until the mid-1900s that people still held fires ritualistically in their yard in both Ireland and Scotland. The belief was that the cows would walk through the smokes from all of the bonfires, and that would create an abundance of the farms and of the harvest as they navigated their way through all of the smoke. So hopefully that's a nice little tidbit to show to you the relevance in the cultures of Ireland and Scotland till today. Enjoy our little view of our bonfire here, and we'll be back with you shortly. Hello and welcome back for our second part of Witchy Wednesday. We promised you that we would be back with some offerings for the fairies. So if you're wondering why fairies have such a part to play in Beltane, we mentioned before that there's this supernatural element similar to that with Halloween, or Samhain as it were, with the Celts. And they believe that the living and the dead can walk the earth at the same time on Halloween. And while the dead can come back on Beltane, which makes it equal in its power, they do believe that Beltane also embraces other supernatural people and creatures as equal as it embraces the dead. And many believe that Beltane is the time that leprechauns, fairies, and other small folk that have anything to do with Irish or Scottish mythology are able to come forward, are in fact quite real. So around Beltane, it's important to leave some offerings for the fairies to make sure that they are contented and happy. One of the best things you can do for fairies is to leave them flowers. So they might be going about looking for mischief on Beltane night. They certainly will, as they're empowered by the ritual of the day. So you'll want to make sure you leave some flowers at your front door or any entrance to your house. And when they come by, instead of coming in and creating mischief or havoc for the season to come, they will take your offering and pass by your house to the next one. So you'll want to leave them some flowers. They'll also want to see that you had a feast in celebration of them. And one of the things to celebrate them in a feast is to make sure that you bake some homemade breads. And you don't need to have all sorts of things like people have been talking about in quarantine. You don't need to have a sourdough starter kit. You don't need to have yeast. You don't even need to have beer to make it rise. There's very old rituals and ways that we can make bread, and Beltane bread is one of the most fantastic ones that I've ever tried for a ritual. It involves a little fruit, some organic ingredients, and we're going to go through it today with you, help you know how to make Beltane bread for the future. So we're using a recipe today that I actually got from a site about the Green Man and the Green Woman, which we talked about earlier, something that I tried last year, and we're going to walk you through the first process. And so the first process is going to include flour. So with any good baking recipe, you're going to need flour, and it says, you know, you want about 3 mugs, which for us is about 3 cups worth of flour. And you're just going to pour this into a mixing bowl that you have. Now, the next thing that you're going to do is use a package of dried strawberries. This is going to help add some sweetness to your bread and almost make it taste like a dessert. And you're going to mix your flours and your flour and strawberries.
So, Courtney, the fairy fae, right?
Yes.
Why do we want them to have sweet things? Why do they like sweet things? What is that?
I feel like the fae are, you know, like sassy and sweet, as we say, like little girls can be. That's kind of how the fae are best described, is they have this kind of sweet and loving nature to them where they want to bring you good, but they also have the mischief, which is why it has to be an offering as well.
So they, so the fairy fae and the little folks, even the, I hate to say it, like puck wedgies, right?
Yes.
They all, you kind of really want to be on their good side, and so this is a great way to start out your planting season, so that
yes.
They will be in your garden, helping to keep away pests and help your garden to grow.
Use the fae to your advantage.
You really want to, because I don't think you want to deal with the other way it goes.
Yes, and I will tell you guys all something really funny. Marty, who is incidentally filming this right now, he and I got married in Ireland, and we went horseback riding before our wedding. And when we were horseback riding, we saw this little old man in the typical Irish cap, like walking through the woods, looking in the bushes. And we, said hello to him and asked what was going on. And he quite seriously said that he was looking for the wee leprechauns, that they had taken something from him. So they are quite real in Celtic cultures, and they are quite powerful. So do not question the fae and the leprechauns. So we have our strawberry and our flour blended here. The next thing that we're going to add to our mixture is some buttermilk. So for buttermilk, you need about 500 milliliters of it, which is just over 2 cups for those of us measuring here in the U.S. And you're gonna, in that little well that you make in the middle of your mixture, you're gonna pour your buttermilk. Now that's not the only thing that you're gonna put in the center. You also are gonna wanna use this golden syrup. So we're not adding any sugar, even though this is a sweetbread, because our sweetness is coming from golden syrup. And we're gonna put about 3 tablespoons of that in here. And it's gonna go into that same well with the buttermilk.
I've never heard of golden syrup.
It's Not incredibly easy to find, at least here in the U.S. I think it's a little more common across the pond in Europe.
I know,
but
baked beans on it. No?
I think they have pecan pie on it, which actually would be really interesting to try in it. I'm still used to, it just being straight up corn syrup here, but I think this is a little bit healthier. For those of you watching over here, I did find it at one of the regular grocery stores, but not all of them have it. So we have about 3 tablespoons of the golden syrup in there. And then you want clear honey. Now, clear honey is really, really hard to find. So we're going to use this agave, which is, in the same family and is a little bit more clear for the baking of the bread for this particular ritual. And you're going to use the same amount of honey as you use the golden syrup. So 3 tablespoons. And it's unlike with most baking, it doesn't have to be completely exact. This is something that is going to have its imperfections, and that's absolutely okay. But it's about having, the heart of it and the heart of the season, and that's what's going to make it taste well. Now, you're also going to add a little bit of vanilla in here. Vanilla extract, vanilla essence as it's called. They say about 3 drops. But I still like to measure it out because there's no real dropper here. So 2. So that's a little less than a teaspoon.
So this bread's going to be very sweet, actually.
Yeah, it is. People are a little bit surprised, but it is pretty sweet. So now that we have all of that together in the little well, you can start mixing it together. They say you can use a wooden spoon. We kind of have a spatula here. But you're going to just start mixing it together, and you're supposed to start putting your energy into it when you're mixing it. So Sunshine's putting all her wishes for the spring season, the summer, the leprechauns, the fae. We're thinking of them. And there's kind of similar as with your wish box as you're mixing it together. And you can even put your hands into it if you really want to make sure you've got all your energy in it. You say, as we light the Beltane flame, I make this bread in love's sweet name. 2 halves together bound as one. Beltane's dance has now begun. And you'll see 2 halves later when you see the finished product. But for now, we're going to make sure that we have a nice concoction here that's put together. Then we're going to go off camera for a little bit, and what we're going to do is we're going to form it into a circle. We're going to roll out our flour here on this lovely Michael Myers cutting board. We're going to form with our hands a round shape once it's nice and mixed. So it just looks like kind of an earthen shaped bread. And then we're going to put a little bit of egg on top as a wash, and we're going to sprinkle some brown sugar on top. And keep that nice and sweet. And then we're going to bake it in the oven. We're going to do this, at normal temp for most folks around 350 for about 20 minutes. And we'll be back to show you what it looks like.
Looking good.
We have, as promised for you, our finished product of Beltane bread. We have 2 halves here. So what we did at the end was sort of carve into the middle with a knife, dividing it into 2 parts. We did this because the bread is supposed to be a symbol of unity coming together, the unity of man and woman, light and dark. All of the things that Beltane represents are represented with dividing the bread yet keeping it together and tying it together with specifically yellow and purple ribbons. These are the favorite colors of the fairies, and you may even opt for those flowers to leave as your offerings for the fairies. But this shows also the magic and beauty that comes with all of these things. So you tie together over where you cut in half with the purple and the yellow. All that you missed as far as the baking of the bread was making it at 350 for 20 minutes. We put the egg and the brown sugar on it, and we did put a little baking soda back in our mix, which we probably should have told you before. You'll probably want to mix it with your flour, but we're going to cut off a little piece to show you what it looks like inside. It's going to be very, very sweet bread. You can see all the little strawberries and our egg on top, and it's very, very yummy. And you can do this and celebrate the coming of summer. So we want to thank you again for joining us on Witchy Wednesday. It's been so much fun to host you, and we hope you have a blessed and beautiful Beltane, and we will see you on our next segment for Cemetery Saturday.